2 million years after humanity's extinction, a mother gives birth to what appears to be a completely useless child. The baby has no arms, no legs, no skin, no eyes, no ears, literally nothing except his skull. Yet somehow, he's still alive. The reason for this horrifying situation goes back to the exact day he was born, when his father, Daigo, entered a mysterious temple and encountered what appeared to be a god. Instead of showing respect, Daigo panicked and tried to flee, but when the old figure blocked his path, he killed him with his sword. After that, he made a terrifying deal with the 12 heavenly demons, promising to sacrifice his firstborn son in exchange for becoming the most powerful ruler in the world. Somehow, the deal actually worked. When his son was finally born, Daigo immediately ordered the midwife to kill the baby and erase all evidence of his existence. She takes the child to a river and prepares to drown him, but before she can do it, she notices a mysterious boat floating nearby. Instead of killing him herself, she places the baby inside and lets the river carry him away. Unfortunately for her, a demon suddenly appears and tries to devour her right afterward. Before the creature can finish her off, a blind old man senses its presence and kills it instantly with a single strike. Afterward, he notices the strange baby floating inside the boat and realizes that an ancient divine power is radiating from the child's body. Meanwhile, in another part of the country, a warrior is dragging defeated enemies to be crucified alongside countless other soldiers. During the chaos, he watches his own wife get accidentally killed by his own men, completely breaking him mentally. Unable to handle the pain anymore, he attempts to take his own life, but somehow survives. Afterward, he becomes colorblind, and while wandering near a river, he discovers the same mysterious boat carrying the mutilated baby, who is somehow still alive. Instead of abandoning him, the warrior decides to raise him as his own son. Over the years, he creates artificial limbs, artificial skin, and prosthetic body parts for the child, allowing him to survive despite missing most of his real body. However, he quickly realizes that the boy cannot feel pain and barely seems capable of experiencing normal human emotions. Because of this, he names him Hyakimaru, inspired by the idea of 100 demons, and spends years training him to survive. At first, it seems like he's turning the boy into an unstoppable killing machine, but according to him, it's all supposedly for self-defense. After years of hunting demons, Hyakimaru eventually slaughters one so powerful that his hidden divine power activates, causing one of his missing legs to regenerate. This reveals the truth. Every time he kills one of the demons connected to his father's deal, he regains a stolen piece of his body. By the time he turns 16, the man who raised him admits that maybe teaching him nothing but violence wasn't the best parenting strategy. Before leaving, Hyakimaru touches his own face for what feels like the first time and embraces the man who raised him like a father before setting off on his own journey. For years, Hyakimaru wanders the world alone without ever properly eating, until one day he finds a young thief named Dororo being brutally beaten after stealing money from 3 cruel men. Before they leave, Dororo throws a rock directly into their leader's eye, which obviously makes things much worse. The furious man starts drowning Dororo and orders his men to bring him a sword so they can kill him. But before they can act, they notice Hyakimaru standing in the distance. At first, it seems like he's staring at them, but he's actually focused on the demon lurking behind them. Within seconds, the demon devours the large man in one bite. The remaining thugs try to run away, but they're eaten as well. When the monster turns toward Dororo, Hyakimaru jumps in, slices off its arm, and throws Dororo to safety before retreating across a bridge while the creature chases him. Instead of fighting directly, he begins cutting through the bridge's supports until the entire structure collapses, crushing the demon beneath the rubble. At that exact moment, Hyakimaru's mask falls off, and for the first time, his real skin regenerates. At the same time, lightning strikes in the distance and destroys one of the 12 demons. And honestly, some of these demons are way less impressive than you'd expect considering how much chaos they caused. Meanwhile, Daigo's second son is spending time with his mother, showing her a dove he captured, but she still can't stop thinking about her first child and quietly stares at the statue of the goddess who sacrificed herself years ago. As Hyakimaru continues traveling with Dororo, the young thief realizes that despite being blind, Hyakimaru can see the outlines of people's souls, and demonic souls appear as bright red energy. This ability eventually leads them to another village, where things immediately get strange when a mysterious demon appears during the night and rings terrifying bells before disappearing without explanation. The next morning, the village chief introduces them to Lady Banda, a priestess who claims she lost the use of her legs after an accident. Dororo is immediately amazed by how beautiful she is, but Hyakimaru instantly senses demonic energy coming from her and attacks without hesitation. The villagers stop him and throw both him and Dororo into prison, where they meet a blind old man who reveals that he was imprisoned for the exact same reason. Even more shocking, he recognizes Hyakimaru as the abandoned baby from years ago, and reveals that he also possesses the ability to see souls. When they both sense another demonic presence, Hyakimaru immediately reacts, cutting off its arm and jumping into a well with the old man. Together, they travel through hidden underground tunnels that eventually lead directly into Lady Bande's chamber, where Hyakkimaru bursts through the door and forces her to reveal her true demonic form. When the group arrived at the abandoned temple, they were suddenly greeted by several children who revealed that they were war survivors being cared for by a young woman named Mio. Takeda, one of the older boys, immediately stepped forward and explained that he was basically helping take care of everyone, while Mio worked herself to exhaustion. He told the others to leave and insisted that Mio get some rest before heading out for her nightly job. Later that day, Dororo decided to spend some time with Takeda and even offered to help him with his chores, but Takeda refused, saying he wanted to work as hard as his sister Mio. Meanwhile, the old priest prepared to leave and explained that he was going into the forest to search for a safer route for everyone in case war eventually reached their location. At Daigo's land, things were becoming increasingly unstable. A messenger informed Daigo that enemy forces were gathering at their borders, and to make matters worse, their land was beginning to suffer from severe famine because rain hadn't fallen for weeks. Daigo's wife began realizing that history might be repeating itself once again. Back at the temple, Mio checked Hyakkimaru's temperature and realized he was burning with fever from his injuries. She promised to bring him medicine after finishing her work later that night. As she began singing, Hyakkimaru felt an emotion he had never truly experienced before. For the first time, he wanted someone to stay beside him forever. At the same time, the priest discovered a hidden path deep in the forest that could potentially serve as a new home for Mio and the children. However, his hope quickly disappeared when he sensed a demon lurking beneath the ground in that area. The next day, when Mio returned, she noticed Hyakkimaru waiting for her outside. She gave him the medicine she brought, and although he couldn't properly communicate, he clearly wanted her to sing again. Dororo noticed how much Mio's voice seemed to calm him down. When the priest returned, he explained that he had found a safe place in the forest where they could all hide once war broke out. But there was one major problem. A powerful demon was already living there. The moment Hyakkimaru heard that, he immediately began walking toward the forest to kill it. Dororo tried stopping him, but he completely ignored him. Realizing Hyakkimaru was still badly injured and nowhere near fully recovered, the priest decided to follow him. While the men were gone, Mio revealed a heartbreaking truth to Dororo. She admitted that she had been working for both armies, preparing for war, because it was the fastest way to earn money for the children. The younger kids thought her work was dangerous, but Dororo promised he would protect her if anything happened. That night, Dororo secretly followed Mio into the forest and discovered what her job actually was. She was selling her own body to soldiers, and Dororo was completely devastated. Watching her endure all of that pain just to feed the children completely shattered him. At the same time, Hyakkimaru and the priest reached the massive pit where the demon was hiding. Hyakkimaru immediately charged in, but the priest warned him that he was still too weak to fight. The demon suddenly attacked from below, causing the ground to collapse beneath them and dragging them deep into the pit. After landing, Hyakkimaru charged the monster, while the priest attacked from behind. The demon eventually grabbed Hyakkimaru and began pulling him underground. The priest barely managed to save him, but then Hyakkimaru began screaming in pain, and the priest quickly realized why. Half of Hyakkimaru's leg had been eaten by the demon. That night, when Dororo returned to the temple, he found Hyakkimaru badly injured and immediately noticed his missing leg. The priest explained everything that happened, but something even more shocking happened right after. Hyakkimaru was crying out in pain. For the first time in his life, he could truly feel pain, and because of that, the priest realized Hyakkimaru had also gained the ability to speak. The next morning, Mio returned and noticed Hyakkimaru's injuries. As she cleaned his wounds, Dororo accidentally noticed scars covering her body and quickly ran away, overwhelmed by everything he had learned. Takeda found him shortly afterward and asked what was wrong, but Dororo chose to keep Mio's secret hidden. Meanwhile, at Daigo's castle, Tahomaru demanded to be sent to the battlefield. Daigo refused and treated him like a child, which only frustrated him even more. When Tahomaru tried speaking to his mother, she ignored him, causing him to realize she had always been emotionally distant. He became convinced she was hiding something. Back at the temple, Hyakkimaru continued remembering Mio's voice while trying to walk despite his injuries. He eventually collapsed, but Mio rushed over to help him. Unable to properly speak, Hyakkimaru tried communicating with her. Instead, Mio began singing again. As the priest secretly watched them, he noticed something terrifying. Mio's voice was calming the darkness growing inside Hyakkimaru. He began worrying that Hyakkimaru's rage could eventually transform him into a monster. That night, Mio prepared to leave for work again and admitted to Dororo that she knew he had followed her. She explained that this was the only way she could keep everyone alive. Instead of judging her, Dororo told her she was incredibly brave and that he would never hate her for sacrificing everything for the children. He finally made peace with her. Meanwhile, Hyakimaru began carving wood to create a replacement for his missing leg. Dororo helped feed him and reminded him that he needed his strength back. He also admitted that Hyakimaru was his only real friend in the world. The next morning, Hyakimaru finished his wooden leg and began practicing with his swords, while the orphan children admired him. They even showed him weapons they had secretly collected from nearby battlefields. At the same time, Mio left for work once again. Unfortunately, a soldier from the opposing army spotted her and immediately became suspicious, believing she was a spy. That night, Dororo realized Hyakimaru had secretly left the temple. He immediately understood what was happening. Hyakimaru had gone back to kill the demon. This time, Hyakimaru launched himself directly into the pit and aggressively fought the monster. The demon bit into his leg once again, but Hyakimaru stabbed it through the mouth, launched himself high into the air, and decapitated it in one devastating strike. The moment the demon died, rain finally returned, and another statue connected to the demons shattered. When Mio arrived back at the temple, Takeda informed her that Hyakimaru had gone to fight the monster. She immediately rushed toward the temple, and that's when everything went horribly wrong. A group of enemy soldiers followed her. They stormed the temple and slaughtered every single orphan without mercy. When Dororo returned, he found all of his friends dead. The soldiers accused Mio of being a spy because she had been seen visiting both camps. Desperate to save her, Dororo ran toward Mio, but he was thrown aside. And then Hyakimaru arrived. He immediately saw Mio dying and completely lost control. Fueled by rage, grief, and pure hatred, he began slaughtering every soldier in sight. And honestly, all this was one of the most brutal moments in the entire series. He was seconds away from killing the final surviving soldier when Dororo stopped him. Dororo remembered the priest's warning and realized Hyakimaru was dangerously close to becoming a monster himself. The surviving soldier escaped. As Dororo cried beside Mio's body, he revealed a small bag she had been carrying. Inside were rice seeds. He explained that Mio's dream was to one day build a rice farm, so the children would never go hungry again, because none of them had ever eaten real rice before, only burnt scraps left behind by war. Dororo begged Hyakimaru to never forget her dream, and after hearing those words, Hyakimaru spoke his very first word. Together, they buried all the children and left the temple behind. As they continued their journey, the only thing they could still hear was Mio's gentle singing voice echoing in their memories. Later that night, Dororo asked Hyakimaru if he was hungry, but he simply held tightly onto the bag of rice seeds. Soon after, Dororo began hearing strange noises in the forest and assumed it was probably just a couple sneaking around. Annoyed, he started throwing rocks into the trees, which turned out to be a massive mistake. A giant creature nearly crushed him. Hyakimaru quickly jumped into action and saved a man trapped in giant webs. The man fell to the ground completely terrified as Hyakimaru fought a monstrous spider creature. Although Hyakimaru managed to injure it, the monster escaped. Later that night, they arrived at a nearby village and decided to rest there. But when they reached the entrance, guards informed them that nobody could enter without proper permission because villagers had recently been disappearing. The next morning, a strange woman was found lying near the road pretending to be weak and helpless. A villager named Yajiro found her and brought her home after feeling bad for her. What he didn't know was that she planned to drain his life force. But everything changed when he offered her real food. For the first time, she tasted rice, and she absolutely loved it. When Yajiro asked where she came from, she told him to mind his own business. Honestly, fair enough. Later, when he spared a cockroach instead of killing it, she became genuinely confused and asked why. Yajiro simply smiled and told her that all life has value. And for the first time in her life, she met a human who was completely different from everyone else. That night, while Yajiro was sleeping, the mysterious woman slowly crawled toward him and prepared to drain his life force. But right before doing it, she realized something strange. She wasn't craving human energy. She was just hungry for actual food. So instead of attacking him, she quietly ate the leftovers from his meal and returned to bed, realizing that Yajiro was unlike any human she had ever met. For the first time, she genuinely wanted to understand someone. The next morning, Dororo spent the entire day searching the village for the spider monster, but found absolutely nothing. Later that day, another villager suddenly disappeared, leaving everyone confused since there were still no signs of any monster attacks. That night, Yajiro noticed that the woman's condition was getting worse. He explained that the village had no doctors, and even worse, nobody could leave without a traveler's permit. Because of that, he suggested that they secretly escape together. At the same time, Hyakimaru and Dororo were literally chewing on weeds for dinner, and Dororo started realizing they were probably going to starve to death if they stayed in that village much longer. Meanwhile, Yajiro and the woman attempted to escape through a secret route, but quickly ran into Hyakimaru and Dororo. Thinking they were there to kill her, she prepared to fight, but Dororo immediately realized she was the spider creature responsible for the disappearances and told Hyakimaru to attack. Before he could do anything, Yajiro stepped in and protected her. Then he revealed something shocking. He was actually the real kidnapper. Moments later,
The village guards arrived and threatened to execute Yajiro for helping people escape. Dororo argued that he found them first and deserved a reward, but the guards revealed there was never any reward at all. It was all a lie designed to force people into confessing. The guards attempted to arrest everyone. That turned out to be a terrible idea. The woman instantly trapped them with her webs and drained their life force. As soon as Hyakimaru saw her soul glowing red again, he attacked. But she trapped him in webs and escaped with Yajiro. After Dororo freed him, Hyakimaru chased them while the guards called reinforcements. Desperate to escape, she fired webs toward the top of a mountain and pulled both of them upward. Once they were alone, Yajiro realized she had fully regained her strength and assumed she no longer needed him, but she surprised him. She told him she wanted him to stay with her forever. Yajiro then asked the question that mattered most. Did she kill humans after draining them? She explained that she always spared their lives and only absorbed enough energy to survive. And weirdly enough, that was all Yajiro needed to hear. He admitted that he was tired of being alone anyway and willingly chose to stay with her. Eventually, they reached a hidden cave where Yajiro told her to find a safe way out, but she insisted they stay together since his identity had already been exposed. Unfortunately, their escape was interrupted when arrows suddenly pierced Yajiro's body. The soldiers had found them. The woman completely lost control. She blocked the arrows, captured the soldiers, and drained their life force before transforming into her full spider form. She quickly captured everyone else too, but Hyakimaru sliced through her webs and attacked her directly. Even after losing one of her legs, she still refused to abandon Yajiro. When Hyakimaru prepared to finish her off, Yajiro begged him to stop and admitted that he truly wanted to stay with her forever. Surprisingly, Hyakimaru let them go. The next day, Dororo noticed something unusual. Hyakimaru was starting to smile, and that alone showed how much he was slowly becoming more human. A few days later, Dororo started wondering why Hyakimaru still barely talked even after regaining his ability to speak. Their conversation was interrupted when they noticed villagers carrying a crying girl up a mountain. At first, Dororo assumed it was some kind of wedding procession. Then he noticed something was very wrong. The bride looked terrified. A young boy suddenly came sliding down the mountain while trying to stop them with a bow, but the wind blew his arrow away. Before he could fire another shot, Dororo stopped him, thinking he was trying to ruin a wedding. The boy quickly explained the truth. The girl was his sister, and she was being sacrificed to a monster. That immediately changed everything. The boy explained that a giant dark cloud constantly hovered above their village, and that a monstrous centipede demon would emerge from it to devour villagers. To protect themselves, the villagers started sacrificing young girls, and somehow they convinced themselves this was normal. Dororo asked why it specifically had to be girls. The boy had no idea. Dororo agreed to help rescue her for a price. The boy offered worms and a small piece of gold. Dororo immediately became interested after hearing about the gold and agreed to help. When they reached the mountain, the boy attempted to free his sister, but she refused to leave. She believed escaping would cause the monster to destroy the entire village. She was willing to sacrifice herself to save everyone else. Dororo promised her that they would kill the monster. Hyakimaru silently unsheathed his sword, proving he was ready. Suddenly, a massive dark cloud began moving toward them. The gods were instantly pulled into the sky, and their mutilated bodies were thrown back to the ground. Then they finally saw the monster. A gigantic centipede emerged from the clouds, and it was absolutely horrifying. It lunged toward the boy, but his sister pushed him out of the way and was swallowed instead. Dororo honestly had no idea how they were supposed to beat something this massive. Then, something unexpected happened. Hot water burst from a nearby geyser, creating light that temporarily scattered the dark clouds. The monster immediately retreated, and Dororo realized sunlight was its weakness. Later, Dororo created a ridiculous but effective plan. The next day, he disguised himself as a bride, and somehow, it actually worked. The centipede attacked him immediately. Dororo ran for his life while baiting it toward their trap. He barely avoided being eaten multiple times before leading it exactly where they wanted. Meanwhile, the boy fired a flaming arrow into the geyser, triggering a massive explosion that set the creature on fire. For a moment, it looked like they won. Then the monster extinguished the flames and created even more smoke to block the sunlight. It rose into the sky to kill them. That's when Hyakimaru stepped in. He distracted the monster, fired arrows into it, then charged directly at its face and slashed it down. But the creature was still alive. Dororo realized Hyakimaru couldn't properly track it through the clouds. So he jumped onto the monster and started screaming for Hyakimaru to follow his voice. Unfortunately, falling debris knocked Dororo unconscious. Hyakimaru desperately screamed his name. Then the monster launched him high into the sky. Even while unconscious, Dororo's voice helped guide him. Hyakimaru pierced the creature's eye, forcing it out of the clouds. The sunlight hit its body. Its skin began burning. Then Hyakimaru jumped directly into its mouth and ripped it apart from the inside. The monster was finally dead. After falling into a river, the boy discovered that his sister was somehow still alive, and for once, everyone actually got a happy ending. Well, or most closely. Right after the battle, Hyakimaru's fake nose fell into the water, and his real nose finally regenerated. A little later, the boy gave Dororo the rest of the gold he promised. Except it turned out to be completely worthless junk. Dororo was absolutely furious, but the boy's sister gave him a flower as thanks instead. As they left the mountain, Hyakimaru smelled the flower and then quietly said Dororo's name for the very first time. And that moment hit way harder than expected. Later that day, Hyakimaru became fascinated with his new sense of smell and even tried smelling Dororo's face, which immediately made Dororo shove him away. Unfortunately, Dororo suddenly collapsed from exhaustion. Hyakimaru rushed him to a nearby village and desperately tried finding help. But everyone ignored him. One farmer refused, another person walked away. With nowhere else to go, Hyakimaru placed Dororo on the ground, and Dororo remembered seeing his own mother collapse in almost the exact same way. Thankfully, a woman found them and brought them into her home. When Dororo woke up, he thought Hyakimaru had abandoned him. The woman calmed him down and made a surprising discovery. Dororo was actually a girl. Dororo then revealed her tragic backstory. Years earlier, her father led a resistance group fighting samurai who destroyed their village, but they were betrayed by Dororo's own uncle. Her father and his men were massacred. Even in his final moments, her father managed to take one enemy soldier down with him. After their village burned to the ground, Dororo and her mother became the only survivors. Her mother spent weeks trying to keep her alive while they wandered without food. Eventually, her mother collapsed in a field of flowers and begged Dororo to stay strong and survive until the war ended. Those final words became Dororo's motivation to keep living. After finishing her story, Dororo promised she would never give up. And when she reunited with Hyakimaru a few days later, she asked if he had figured out that she was actually a girl. Hyakimaru completely ignored the question. Classic Hyakimaru. Back in Daigo's land, a messenger informed him that the abandoned baby from 16 years ago may have actually survived. And things got even worse when he revealed that one of Daigo's military commanders had recently been attacked by a mysterious warrior with prosthetic arms. Hearing this, Daigo immediately began wondering if his first son was somehow still alive. And later that same day, another village chief arrived with even more terrible news, explaining that it hadn't rained for 2 entire months, and their rice fields were beginning to die from drought. As if that wasn't bad enough, another official reported that a neighboring clan was preparing for war, and Daigo realized his kingdom was slowly falling apart. Desperate for answers, he rode to the temple where he had made his original pact and stared at the broken demon statues, finally realizing that Hyakimaru had to be responsible because every demon he killed was allowing him to reclaim another piece of his stolen body. As he stood there, mysterious smoke formed an image of Hyakimaru right in front of him, confirming his worst fears. Meanwhile, deep in the forest, Hyakimaru casually killed another monster in seconds, like it was just another Tuesday for him. And while Dororo was washing blood off their clothes nearby, she suggested they visit the next village so they could finally eat something decent. While talking, she noticed the symbol on Hyakimaru's bag and asked if it belonged to his family, but he simply stared at her without answering. Back at Daigo's castle, Tahamaru secretly questioned the messenger about the missing baby, and the man revealed that the child disappeared 16 years ago. The moment Tahamaru asked why everyone was hiding information about a random baby, the messenger immediately panicked and stopped talking, which only made Tahamaru even more suspicious. That night, he confronted Daigo directly and demanded answers about the abandoned child, but Daigo completely shut him down and basically told him to mind his own business. The next day, while traveling with his men, Tahamaru noticed villagers gathered near a lake and learned that a massive monster living beneath the water had been devouring people for years. Realizing this could be the perfect chance to prove himself, he declared that he would kill the beast himself. That night, Tahamaru and his men rowed boats toward the center of the lake, but everything immediately went wrong when their boats suddenly stopped moving. Moments later, the giant crab monster emerged from the water, and everyone realized they were seconds away from becoming dinner. They tied their boats together to avoid being dragged underwater while Tahamaru charged forward without hesitation. Jumping from boat to boat, he managed to slash one of the creature's claws, while his allies distracted it with arrows. One of his companions cracked its shell, but before they could finish it off, the monster retreated back into the water and began attacking the boats from below. Realizing they were at a massive disadvantage in the water, Tahamaru retreated and began developing a smarter plan. One of his allies suggested blowing the creature up by forcing explosives into its mouth, but Tahamaru refused to sacrifice his men, and instead noticed something in the distance that gave him a better idea. The next day, the villagers helped build massive wooden barriers that redirected the lake's water flow. Once everything was ready, they used a boat to lure the monster into position before trapping it in shallow water. With the creature now exposed, Tahamaru launched his attack, dodging its claws while his men destroyed its legs. His archer weakened it further with precise shots, and the villagers began celebrating early as Tahamaru cut deeply into the beast. Unfortunately, the monster wasn't done yet. It smashed the wooden gates holding back the water, flooding the battlefield and nearly killing everyone. Tahamaru was seconds away from being eaten when Hyakkimaru suddenly appeared out of nowhere and instantly killed the creature. Tahomaru was completely stunned. He couldn't even process how someone could kill a monster that powerful so effortlessly. Later, he demanded to know who Hyakkimaru was, but Dororo simply told him to be grateful they saved his life. After reluctantly thanking them, Tahomaru noticed Hyakkimaru staring at him, and Dororo explained that Hyakkimaru was blind and could only see people through their souls. Naturally, Dororo also demanded payment for saving them, and Tahomaru handed over silver coins. When Dororo asked for directions to the nearest village, Tahomaru pointed them toward his homeland, but as Hyakkimaru looked at him, he felt something strangely familiar about Tahomaru's soul. Once they entered the village, an old fortune teller saw Hyakkimaru and immediately started screaming that the cursed demon child had returned before running away in terror. At the same time, Dororo noticed how peaceful the village looked compared to everywhere else they had traveled. Everyone seemed happy, and then she spotted 𝑨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 in the crowd. Later, while sitting near a lake, 𝑨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 revealed that the demon statues were hidden inside Daigo's temple and warned Dororo that Hyakkimaru's soul was becoming increasingly corrupted by demons. He could also sense that Hyakkimaru had started killing humans, and before leaving, he warned Dororo that the darkness inside him could eventually consume him completely. Back at Daigo's palace, Tahomaru's archer revealed that the mysterious warrior who saved them was a man with prosthetic limbs who traveled from village to village hunting demons. The moment she revealed his name, Daigo's wife realized the truth. That was her son. Meanwhile, Hyakkimaru and Dororo left the village to investigate another monster that had been terrorizing nearby settlements. But when they reached a massive wall, Hyakkimaru sensed an extremely powerful demonic presence on the other side. Suddenly, Tahomaru appeared behind them and nearly gave Dororo a heart attack while warning them that crossing the border would get them killed because enemy soldiers would shoot anyone who entered their territory. Dororo refused to back down and explained they were there to kill the monster anyway. Later that day, Tahomaru explained that the land beyond the wall used to be his home before war took everything from him. He wanted to cross over and reunite with his family, and Dororo offered to help him sneak through at night. Tahomaru warned her that demons constantly attacked anyone near the border, but Dororo confidently said her personal demon killer could handle it. Back at the palace, Daigo's wife confronted him, fearing that he planned to kill Hyakkimaru to preserve the kingdom. She told him he was being punished for sacrificing his own son, but Daigo refused to care and left anyway. That night, enemy soldiers abandoned their post as strange noises filled the darkness. Suddenly, a flaming demon descended from the sky, followed by dozens of fox spirits that transformed from floating flames. Hyakkimaru immediately began cutting through them while Dororo threw stones to help distract them. The fox leader transformed into a giant, nine-tailed beast and slammed Hyakkimaru into the ground with fire attacks, but he managed to break free and kill it just before a wave of arrows forced the creature to retreat. Inside the village, Tahomaru searched desperately for answers about his family, but the fortune teller completely lost her mind after seeing him and screamed that the cursed child had returned to destroy Daigo. Meanwhile, Dororo realized Tahomaru had been captured by enemy soldiers, while Hyakkimaru sensed an army approaching and recognized the demonic energy within Daigo's soul. When one soldier insulted him, Hyakkimaru moved so fast that he instantly appeared behind Daigo. Daigo finally realized this was truly his son and demanded to know how he survived. Then he called him a cursed, half-born demon child and ordered his men to kill him. Hyakkimaru escaped into the forest while trying to understand what Daigo meant. At the same time, Dororo woke up imprisoned by the enemy clan alongside Tahomaru, who revealed that his home had been destroyed and his family was likely dead. Trying to encourage him, Dororo suggested they travel together after escaping, but another prisoner explained they'd only survive if they reached Daigo's territory because a goddess was protecting those lands from enemy invasion. That's when Dororo noticed the clan symbol on the prisoner and suddenly remembered seeing the exact same symbol on Hyakkimaru's bag, and in that moment, she finally connected everything. Hyakkimaru was Daigo's lost son. After spotting an escape route, Dororo began climbing out of the prison while guards chased her. Tahomaru helped create a distraction and screamed for her to escape. She managed to break free, but slipped on the rocks and fell into a river. Meanwhile, Tahomaru returned home and demanded answers from his parents about sacrificing Hyakkimaru to demons. His mother was devastated, but Daigo coldly explained that sacrificing one child was necessary to save the entire land from war and famine. Before they could continue arguing, they were informed that an intruder had entered the palace. That intruder was Hyakkimaru. As he stared at Daigo and his mother, he realized these people were connected to him. Soldiers fired arrows at him, but he blocked them and escaped deeper into the palace while Daigo ordered his men to kill him. Tahomaru begged his father to spare Hyakkimaru because he was their brother, but Daigo refused, claiming Hyakkimaru's survival would destroy everything. Then, deep in the forest, Hyakkimaru found Dororo after she escaped, and she immediately warned him that Tahomaru was about to be executed. At the same time, one of the Asakura soldiers soldiers informed the prisoners that war had officially been declared against 𝐂𝐨𝐺𝐭𝐸's land, and the captives immediately realized what that meant. The demon that had been protecting 𝐂𝐿𝐺𝐭𝐸's territory must have disappeared, and now the Asakura clan believed this was the perfect opportunity to invade. To make things even worse, the soldiers casually revealed that executing the prisoners would serve as their official declaration of war, which understandably made everyone panic. Meanwhile, Tahomaru and his men arrived at the temple and were immediately disturbed by what they found. Every single statue of the demons had been shattered, and it became painfully obvious that their pact was beginning to collapse. Before they could even fully process what was happening, violent winds suddenly erupted inside the temple, growing stronger and stronger until they were literally forced outside. At that moment, Tahomaru finally understood the terrifying truth. If those demons disappeared completely, 𝐂𝐺𝐭𝐸's entire land would fall into ruin. In his mind, protecting the village became more important than anything else. Back in the forest, Dororo had just learned that Hyakimaru's family were basically the rulers of 𝐂𝐺𝐭𝐸's land, and instead of reacting with sadness or sympathy, she immediately started joking about how they were probably going to get treated like royalty once they reached the palace. Meanwhile, Hyakimaru wasn't focused on any of that. The only thing on his mind was seeing his mother again. Over at the bridge, the Asakura soldiers prepared to execute their prisoners by firing arrows at them. But before they could finish the job, Tahomaru's soldiers suddenly launched an attack. Chaos erupted instantly as both sides began slaughtering each other, and Dororo watched the entire battlefield unfold in horror. But things got even worse when spiritual flames suddenly started appearing everywhere, forcing Hyakimaru to cut through them while charging directly into the battlefield. During the fight, one of the demons suddenly devoured a soldier alive, and that was enough to completely break the Asakura army's morale. They started retreating in fear, realizing they had no chance of winning anymore. That's when 𝐂𝐺𝐭𝐸's soldiers noticed Hyakimaru, and 𝐂𝐺𝐭𝐸 immediately pointed at him, calling him the demon responsible for threatening their entire land. The moment Hyakimaru spotted one of the soldiers responsible for killing Mio and the orphans, pure rage consumed him. Just remembering that tragedy was enough to push him toward complete bloodlust, and he was fully prepared to massacre every single soldier standing in front of him. Thankfully, Dororo managed to stop him before he completely lost himself, pulling him back from the edge before things got even worse. That's when Tahomaru stepped forward and finally revealed the truth. He introduced himself as Hyakimaru's younger brother and openly admitted that their father had sacrificed Hyakimaru to the demons in order to save the land. But unlike their mother, Tahomaru didn't regret that decision at all. In fact, he believed it was necessary. He argued that breaking the pact with the demons would doom everyone living in 𝐂𝐺𝐭𝐸's territory, and because of that, he declared Hyakimaru an enemy that needed to die immediately. Without hesitation, Tahomaru drew his sword and attacked his own brother. Dororo could barely believe what she was watching as the two brothers clashed blades in the middle of absolute chaos. At the same time, she rushed to free the captured boy, but before she could finish, the spiritual foxes returned once again. The spirits merged together into a giant nine-tailed fox, and the boy screamed for Dororo to run while there was still time. Instead, he screamed for Hyakimaru's help. The moment Hyakimaru heard his voice, he instantly cut across Tahomaru's face and rushed toward the giant fox spirit. He attacked it relentlessly, slashing it over and over again until the creature was violently launched into a wall. And then, everything suddenly stopped. Hyakimaru's mother arrived, standing before everyone. She revealed the shattered statue of the goddess of mercy and broke down in tears as she begged Hyakimaru for forgiveness. She admitted that she had failed him as a mother. She confessed that the entire land had survived because of the body parts stolen from him, but she could no longer allow that suffering to continue. Instead, she chose to offer her own life. Before anyone could stop her, she sacrificed herself. A blinding light suddenly erupted from the shattered statue, and the entire structure began collapsing around them. Everyone was forced to flee as debris rained down everywhere. Later, after surviving the destruction, Dororo asked where they were supposed to go next. Before they could figure it out, the boy's family suddenly appeared in the mountains, revealing that they had survived after all. The reunion gave everyone a rare moment of peace, and with nothing left tying them to that village anymore, Dororo and Hyakimaru decided to continue their journey and leave that place behind for good. But even after weeks passed, Hyakimaru couldn't move on. He constantly thought about his mother's death and barely slept at night. Dororo noticed how badly it was affecting him and asked what was wrong, but his answer immediately worried her. He told her he wanted to kill every demon in the world. Then he simply walked away. Dororo chased after him, trying to convince him to slow down and rest because he was clearly pushing himself too hard. But Hyakimaru accidentally bumped into her and kept moving forward like he didn't even hear her. A few days later, while crossing a bridge toward another village, Dororo noticed nearby hot springs and suggested they take a break. Of course, Hyakimaru had zero interest in relaxing and only cared about hunting more monsters. So Dororo did what Dororo Dororo does best. She lied. She immediately shouted that a dangerous monster had been spotted at the hot springs, and 𝐂𝐭𝐿 instantly stopped walking. Yeah, that worked way too easily. Meanwhile, back in 𝐂𝐿𝐴's land, heavy rain finally began falling, and 𝐂𝐿𝐴 felt relieved because the war had been temporarily avoided. His wife still hadn't regained consciousness, but seeing the rain return made him believe the demons hadn't fully abandoned him yet. Still, he couldn't stop wondering how much longer that protection would last, especially knowing 𝐂𝐭𝐿 wouldn't stop until every demon was dead. At the hot springs, 𝐂𝐭𝐿 and Dororo were surprised to discover that 𝑨𝒏𝒖𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 was also there. The old man laughed and told them they were apparently destined to keep crossing paths, no matter where they went. The next morning, Dororo noticed strange markings on her back after the heat from the water revealed a hidden map. That instantly reminded her of something her mother once told her years ago. She had revealed that Dororo's father left behind a hidden treasure and said the map would eventually lead her to it once she found someone she could truly trust. The problem was, Dororo had completely forgotten that treasure even existed. Seeing her confusion, 𝑨𝒏𝒖𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 asked her an important question. What would she do once 𝐂𝐭𝐿 finally recovered every part of his body? He explained that her father's treasure could give her the chance to build her own land and live happily forever. But then he asked an even more uncomfortable question. Would 𝐂𝐭𝐿 actually be happy once his body was fully restored? Later the day, while traveling through a forest, they encountered what looked like ghosts wandering through the woods. Dororo immediately panicked and hid behind 𝐂𝐭𝐿, while he calmly explained that they weren't actually ghosts. Then one of them vanished right in front of them, and suddenly, a massive ghost-like creature appeared and began chasing Dororo while begging her for a motherly hug. The giant spirit nearly crushed her multiple times while calling her mother, and Dororo desperately screamed for 𝐂𝐭𝐿 to save her. 𝐂𝐭𝐿 completely ignored her. He simply explained that it wasn't a demon, which honestly made things even worse for Dororo. Eventually, the spirit led them to a ruined temple, where Dororo discovered traces of oil in the sand, making her realize the place had likely been burned intentionally. Soon after, a strange man appeared and introduced himself as 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆. He warned them that the forest became dangerous at night because it was filled with spirits, and invited them to stay at his home instead of becoming ghost food. Dororo thought his eyes looked creepy as hell, but they followed him anyway. When they arrived, they found a massive mansion hidden deep in the forest, where dancers greeted them and huge amounts of food were served. Dororo instantly forgot all her suspicions and started eating like she hadn't seen food in months. 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 explained that years ago, a nun at the temple abused orphan children, forced them into labor, and eventually sold them away. Then, one day, lightning struck the temple and burned everyone inside. When 𝐂𝐭𝐿 asked about the ghost in the forest, 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 claimed it was the nun's spirit being punished for her sins. That night, however, Dororo began questioning everything. She remembered the oil near the temple and realized the fire was probably no accident. She started suspecting 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 was hiding the truth, and she was right. Later that night, a monster suddenly attacked them while they were sleeping. Dororo panicked and tried waking 𝐂𝐭𝐿 up, only to realize he was somehow sleeping incredibly deeply. The creature attacked, but 𝐂𝐭𝐿 instantly woke up and sliced off its arms before it could kill them. The monster tried trapping him with silk, but he broke free and stabbed straight through its body. Just when they thought it was over, the creature screamed as doors suddenly burst open. Then it transformed. 𝐂𝐭𝐿 immediately realized it was actually a demon. The creature released strange powder to distract them before escaping with another beast. Outside the village, the demon transformed into a woman and warned 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 that 𝐂𝐭𝐿 was the cursed child who had come to reclaim his stolen body parts. And instead of being afraid, 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 promised he would protect the demons. The next morning, 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 encouraged Dororo and 𝐂𝐭𝐿 to stay longer, claiming they'd be safe there. But Dororo continued investigating and noticed something deeply disturbing about the village. Everyone seemed unnaturally happy, almost like they were hiding something. Eventually, she found a storage building far from the village and assumed it was just filled with rice. Then she accidentally discovered a hidden trapdoor beneath the floor. The moment she opened it, a villager kicked her inside and coldly told her she deserved to be devoured for sticking her nose where it didn't belong, because everything they were doing was for the sake of protecting their village. At the same time, 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 began explaining to 𝐂𝐭𝐿 why he was willing to protect the demons no matter what. He told him that this village was the only home he had left and that he would defend it from any threat until his final breath. In his eyes, even the monsters living there were his people. Then he revealed what happened 16 years earlier. His village had been invaded by starving samurai fleeing war, and they turned the entire land into a wasteland. Right when everything seemed hopeless, a powerful demon appeared before him and offered protection in exchange for one thing: a constant supply of human food. And yeah, you already know what that means. Desperate to save his people, 𝐂𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 accepted the deal, and the demons slaughtered the invading samurai. Peace eventually returned to the village, but it came at a horrifying cost. After telling the story, 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 looked Hyakimaru dead in the eyes and asked why he was so obsessed with killing demons. Hyakimaru gave him a brutally simple answer. He wanted every single part of his body back. Meanwhile, underground, Dororo screamed for help but quickly realized nobody could hear her.
She was completely trapped. As she desperately searched for a way out, monsters began emerging from the darkness and chased her through the tunnels. One of them fired silk at her ankle, causing her to crash face first into the dirt. As she tried getting back up, she noticed piles of human bones scattered everywhere. Then suddenly the giant ghost appeared and forced the monsters to stop. Dororo had no idea where it came from, but the spirit began protecting her.
When the monsters tried attacking again, ghostly babies burst out and drove them away. After things calmed down, one of the smallest spirits revealed the truth. 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 had lied about everything. The nun never abused those children. 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 murdered her and fed the orphans to the demons in order to protect the village. Hearing that completely shattered Dororo, and she couldn't understand how an entire village could justify something so evil. The ghost child then offered to guide her to safety. At the same time, 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆's beast awakened, and he revealed that Hyakimaru was about to become dinner. Multiple demons attacked him at once while releasing strange powder into the air, but Hyakimaru held his breath and kept fighting. In that moment, he realized 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 was no different from Daigo. Both men were willing to sacrifice innocent people for their own version of peace. That realization pushed him even further. He cut one demon out of the sky, ripped the wing off another, and kicked 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 down a hill when he tried interfering. Hyakimaru then stabbed another demon, but it escaped into the air and struck back by piercing him with its claws before he crashed into the forest below. The beast completely lost control and slammed into one of the village towers, setting it on fire. Within minutes, the entire village was burning. That same night, Dororo finally reunited with Hyakimaru in the forest and immediately told him the full truth about 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆. But before they could even react, they noticed the village completely engulfed in flames. The villagers watched their food storage burn to ashes and realized their entire future had gone up in smoke. Well, they began fighting each other over scraps of rice, while 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 helplessly watched everything he built collapse in front of him. With his mission complete, Hyakimaru tried walking away, but his prosthetic leg suddenly shattered. That night, he tracked down one of the remaining demons near a lake. When the creature emerged from the water, he instantly burned its wings and sent it crashing into the lake below. After returning to shore, another demon statue shattered and pieces of wood began falling from his body as his real spinal cord regenerated. The next morning, Dororo looked at the destroyed village and noticed how devastated the survivors were.
For the first time, she began questioning whether they were truly doing the right thing.
Remembering Biwamaru's warning, she asked Hyakimaru if killing every demon would actually make the world better. Hyakimaru didn't answer because all he could think about was killing the next demon. As they continued traveling, Hyakimaru eventually realized Dororo was no longer beside him. While he remained focused on revenge, Dororo quietly chose a different path, realizing he had become completely consumed by his obsession. That's when a group of mercenaries suddenly captured her, and the leader turned out to be her traitorous uncle, the same man who betrayed her family years ago. He revealed that he had been searching for her because he wanted the second half of her father's treasure map. When Dororo demanded to know how he found her, he admitted that he had been spying on her father for years. He always suspected Dororo's father hid half the stolen fortune for himself, but he never figured out where it was. After recently digging up Dororo's mother's grave and discovering the hidden map, he became obsessed with finding the treasure. Yeah, dude literally robbed her mother's grave. Dororo completely lost it after hearing that and tried attacking him, but she was restrained. The next day, they climbed a mountain and discovered a distant island. Her uncle became convinced it was where the treasure was hidden and temporarily freed her so she could help find it. Of course, Dororo knew he was lying about splitting the treasure. When they reached a nearby village looking for a boat, they discovered it had been completely abandoned. Before they could figure out what happened, a creepy one-armed boy appeared and offered them a ride. Nobody trusted him, and for good reason. He casually explained that every villager had been fed to sharks. Yes, sharks. As everyone panicked, two massive sharks began pulling their boats toward an island, while the one-armed boy happily explained that the sharks were basically his family. When Dororo asked how he lost his arm, he casually revealed that he fed it to the sharks himself. That was definitely not reassuring. The mercenaries tried fighting back, but the sharks destroyed one of the boats and began tearing men apart. Dororo refused to give up and came up with a plan. She tied herself to a rope, jumped into the ocean, and intentionally baited one of the sharks. While barely surviving underwater, she managed to lure it close enough for the mercenaries to kill it. That bought them enough time to reach the island. When the one-armed boy returned and discovered one of his sharks had been killed, he completely snapped and rushed toward the island, only to get brutally beaten by the mercenaries. The following morning, the group continued climbing toward the treasure, and Dororo realized her situation was getting worse by the minute. Meanwhile, far away on a battlefield, 𝑨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 continued repairing prosthetic limbs for wounded soldiers. treasures while trying to honor the promise he made long ago. But when a thief stole one of his prosthetic eyes, a demon instantly devoured the man. The creature then attacked others nearby before 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 suddenly appeared and killed it without hesitation. 𝐂𝐨𝐧𝐭𝐚𝐭𝐨 was horrified. He immediately noticed that 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 had changed, and not in a good way. Inside a cave, 𝐂𝐨𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 asked how 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 had regained so many body parts and even learned how to speak. 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 barely responded because his only concern was replacing his broken prosthetic leg. 𝐂𝐨𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 refused. He tried serving 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 food first, but 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 only repeated one thing. He wanted a new leg. Then 𝐂𝐨𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 found the bag 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 was carrying and asked if he had met his real family. 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 finally told him everything: his father's betrayal, the demons, and everything he had been through. After hearing the full story, 𝐂𝐨𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 realized something terrifying. Daigo's entire kingdom survived because 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 suffered, and if 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 kept killing demons, that kingdom would collapse. When 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 demanded a new leg again, 𝐂𝐨𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 finally snapped. He refused to build another one because he feared 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 was losing his humanity with every demon he killed. He warned that continuing down this path would eventually turn him into a monster. Then he destroyed the prosthetic. 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 was furious because his mother had said almost the exact same thing before she died. Before things could escalate, a landslide sealed the cave entrance. Meanwhile, back in Daigo's palace, Nui finally regained consciousness and revealed the truth. She explained that 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 survived the original sacrifice because the goddess of mercy offered her own head in exchange for his. Since that statue had now been destroyed, she believed Daigo's pact with the demons had fully collapsed and that their land would soon be destroyed. Daigo refused to accept it, but moments later, his spy reported that Dororo had been seen on a nearby island and assumed 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 would eventually go there too. Daigo immediately ordered 𝐵𝒂𝒄𝒊𝒆 to find him. At the same time, 𝐵𝒂𝒂𝒄𝒊𝒆 and his men arrived at an abandoned house after learning a demon was killing villagers nearby. Inside, they found what looked like a harmless little creature in a kimono until it attacked them. The demon moved insanely fast. Mutsu fired arrows. Hyogo attacked head-on. 𝐵𝒂𝒄𝒊𝒆 sliced off one of its limbs, but the creature revealed that it had over 1,000 babies hidden inside the house. Realizing how dangerous it was, 𝐵𝒂𝒄𝒊𝒆 ordered the entire place burned to the ground, believing it was the only way to destroy the demon permanently. As the flames consumed the house, he made a promise. He would protect Daigo's land, even if that meant killing his own brother. Meanwhile, 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 finally escaped the cave and immediately encountered an entire swarm of demons. Without hesitation, he slaughtered every single one of them in seconds. 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 watched in absolute horror and began questioning whether he had accidentally created a monster. After 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 destroyed the final demonic core, all of the remaining creatures began disappearing. The next morning, 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 prepared to leave once again. Before he left, he asked 𝐂𝐨𝒂𝐵 for his real name. 𝐂𝐨𝒂𝐵 quietly said he didn't deserve one because his life had been stained by too much death. Without another word, 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 resumed his journey, and at the exact same time, 𝐵𝒂𝐿 began assembling an entire army to hunt down his own brother. Meanwhile, 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 managed to get a boat and began sailing toward the island, hoping to find Dororo. On the island, 𝐵eardguy and his men kept searching for the treasure, but his mercenaries were already starting to question whether they were even heading in the right direction. At the same time, on the beach, the surviving shark began devouring the dead one and transformed into a monstrous demon shark. After finishing its gruesome meal, it started crawling toward Dororo, ready to make her its next snack. When it tried to bite her, it ripped an entire tree out of the ground, but Dororo barely escaped before being crushed. The creature kept charging at her, but 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 arrived just in time and intercepted the attack. While slicing into the beast, Dororo asked why he had come back, but 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 quickly realized the shark was beginning to regenerate. He explained that it was a demon and immediately launched another attack. Jumping from side to side, he managed to stab its eye, even after the monster grabbed his wooden leg. Determined to kill it, 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 kept striking non-stop. At the same time, the one-armed boy tried running toward the shark, but got hit. 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 then leaped high into the air and drove his blade deep into the creature, finally killing it. After the battle, he gently rubbed Dororo's head, and she thanked him for coming to save her. At that moment, 𝐂𝐴𝐵𝒄𝒊𝒆 began groaning in pain, and when the wood from his leg fell off, Dororo realized that a real leg had grown back. With no time to celebrate, Dororo suggested they find 𝐵eardguy. The two rushed to the mountain, where 𝐵eardguy and his men had found a cave and were convinced the treasure was inside. Blinded by greed, they rushed in, believing they were about to become rich. But the moment one of them triggered a trap, part of the cave exploded instantly. Even then, 𝐵eardguy refused to give up on finding the treasure. That was when they spotted 𝐵𝒂𝒄𝒆's ship approaching the island. Hyakimaru instantly realized they were coming for him. As soon as they reached shore, Mutsu informed Tahomaru that Hyakimaru's boat had been found on the other side of the island. That was all he needed to hear. Tahomaru immediately ordered his soldiers to kill his brother and anyone with him. Beard Guy realized the danger when arrows started hitting his men and understood that the army intended to wipe everyone out. Panicked, he began running for his life. While Hyakimaru and Dororo searched for a safe place, archers kept firing arrows at them, but Dororo managed to knock them down with rocks. As they climbed the mountain, they discovered Beard Guy and his men were already hiding there. Even in that situation, Beard Guy remained obsessed with the treasure. Dororo screamed that survival mattered more than money, but he completely ignored her. Hyakimaru then suggested creating a distraction. One of Beard Guy's men pretended to be an injured samurai and tricked the soldiers by claiming there were explosives on the mountain. Moments later, an actual explosion went off, and the soldiers rushed to investigate. Taking advantage of the chaos, everyone tried escaping towards the coast. However, one of Beard Guy's men was killed by one of Mutsu's arrows, while Yogo and the others continued closing in. Ryogo appeared above them, and shortly after, Tahomaru arrived, declaring that Hyakimaru was the true demon terrorizing their land and needed to die. Furious, Hyakimaru charged at him immediately. Ryogo smashed part of the cliff with his weapon, causing everything to collapse, but Hyakimaru survived and returned to face his brother. Meanwhile, Beard Guy tried escaping with Dororo, but arrows started killing his men. During their escape, they discovered a row of statues, and Beard Guy realized that location was marked on the treasure map. He became ecstatic, believing he had finally found the fortune, but he was struck in the back by an arrow. Even while dying, he still tried fighting back. Dororo hid behind one of the statues, but accidentally knocked all of them down the mountain. The massive statues crushed several soldiers instantly. In the main battle, Hyakimaru continued fighting Tahomaru, Mutsu, and Yogo all at once. He dodged arrows, blocked attacks, and fought like an unstoppable machine. During the fight, Ryogo destroyed one of his swords, but Hyakimaru kept fighting without hesitation. Meanwhile, Beard Guy realized he was dying and told Dororo that he at least wanted to see the treasure before he died. At that moment, a mysterious man appeared on the cliff and revealed that he had come to send everyone to the afterlife. He threw a torch and caused a massive explosion that destroyed part of the mountain and sent huge rocks crashing down onto the soldiers. Tahomaru immediately ordered a retreat, while Hyakimaru used the chaos to search for Dororo. After the dust settled, Dororo and Beard Guy woke up inside the cave and discovered the treasure was finally right in front of them. It was an enormous fortune hidden for years. However, when Beard Guy tried to reach the gold, he died before he could touch it. Dororo paid her final respects to her traitorous uncle and had no idea what to do with so much money. That night, she and Hyakimaru left the island by boat with the treasure. The following week, Tahomaru realized several villages were starving again and deadly epidemics were beginning to spread. Hyogo concluded that the demons were punishing everyone for failing to kill Hyakimaru. Tahomaru believed only the demons could reveal the truth and decided to visit the hall where the statues were kept. Meanwhile, Dororo noticed that Hyakimaru was acting increasingly distant. During a break in their journey, a man appeared in the mountains asking if they were hunting demons. He introduced himself as 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 and claimed he had been hunting a creature for months to avenge his mother, who had been eaten by it. Hyakimaru didn't believe a single word he said and tried to leave with Dororo. But when they reached the top of the mountain, the demon appeared. It was a massive creature, unlike anything they had ever faced before. The moment Hyakimaru realized it was a demon, he attacked immediately. During the battle, the creature's tail nearly devoured Dororo, but 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 blocked the attack. That was when he revealed he was actually serving the monster and said sacrificing Dororo would make up for his mother's death. The creature kept attacking and destroyed part of the cliff, sending everyone crashing down. When Dororo regained consciousness, she realized her arm was trapped beneath rubble while water rapidly began flooding the area. Hyakimaru tried freeing her, but his prosthetic arms started breaking apart. Even so, he refused to stop. As the water rose and Dororo began drowning, he desperately kept trying to save her. Just when everything seemed hopeless, 𝑨𝒏𝒖𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 appeared and drove his sword into the rocks, freeing Dororo in time. With no time to rest, Hyakimaru immediately returned to fight the demon. 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 was shocked to see him alive, but Hyakimaru ignored him and attacked the creature. The battle was absolutely brutal. He repeatedly sliced the monster apart, defeated 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆, and kept advancing without showing any emotion. The demon mutated into an even more horrifying form, growing wings and becoming far more dangerous, but Hyakimaru remained completely determined. When Dororo finally reached the battlefield, she found pieces of the demon scattered everywhere. Hyakimaru had completely slaughtered it. In his final moments, 𝐂𝐨𝒏𝒄𝒊𝒆 realized Hyakimaru no longer seemed human. Even after killing the demon, none of Hyakimaru's body parts returned. That drove him into madness. He began stabbing the corpse over and over again, consumed by obsession. Dororo tried to stop him, but Hyakimaru was completely controlled by his obsession. At the same time, Tahomaru arrived at the Hall of Demons and watched another statue shatter, leaving only one remaining. Shortly afterwards, would, Hyakimaru coldly told Dororo that 𝐂𝐨𝒄𝒊 was the final demon left, and that he needed to kill his own father to finally become human. A few days later, as Dororo and Hyakimaru approached 𝐂𝐨𝒄𝒊's territory, they noticed several soldiers passing by carrying the banner of the Asakura clan, and Dororo quickly realized they were likely preparing for war. She begged Hyakimaru to slow down and wait until things calmed down, but he had completely fixated on reclaiming the remaining parts of his body and made it clear that nothing would stop him from confronting Daigo Kagemitsu. Back at Daigo's palace, a messenger informed 𝐂𝐨𝒄𝒊 that Hyakimaru was heading toward the village, and the moment Tahomaru heard the news, he immediately volunteered to kill his brother before he could arrive, claiming that it was his responsibility and the only way to save their land. Realizing his son had already made his decision, Daigo gave him permission to leave. The following morning, Tahomaru departed with his men and declared that none of them would return until Hyakimaru was dead. Meanwhile, Hyakimaru and Dororo continued their journey until they encountered a traveler who warned them not to continue toward Daigo's land because war was about to erupt and anyone nearby would be caught between two armies. Hyakimaru showed absolutely no concern for the warning and kept walking forward, and when the traveler physically tried to stop him, Hyakimaru threatened to kill him, forcing the terrified man to run away. Dororo desperately tried to convince him to wait until the war ended, but Hyakimaru coldly explained that all he wanted was to reclaim what had been stolen from him. He wanted to see with his own eyes and feel warmth with his own hands, and hearing that made Dororo realize that despite how dangerous his obsession had become, his desire was understandable. The next day, they arrived at a massive trench filled with countless abandoned corpses, and before they could process what they were seeing, an arrow suddenly struck Hyakimaru and shattered one of his prosthetic limbs. He immediately realized that Tahomaru and his men had been waiting there to ambush him. Fueled by rage, Hyakimaru told Dororo to leave because Tahomaru was no longer family to him, and then began walking toward the battlefield alone. Tahomaru drew his sword and declared that he would restore his land even if it cost him his own life. And moments later, the two brothers charged at one another while Mutsu fired arrows from a distance and Hyogo attacked from close range. During the brutal fight, another arrow destroyed one of Hyakimaru's prosthetic arms, but he retaliated by severing Mutsu's arm and then cutting off Hyogo's arm as well. Tahomaru blocked Hyakimaru's finishing strike, and the brothers continued fighting like mortal enemies, completely determined to kill each other. Just when Hyakimaru appeared ready to end the battle, an explosive arrow detonated near him, forcing him to leap away before several mounted soldiers arrived and surrounded him. One of the riders distracted him long enough for another explosive attack to send both Hyakimaru and his horse crashing into the trench below. At the same time, soldiers captured Dororo and dragged her away while she screamed for Hyakimaru. Tahomaru attempted to continue pursuing his brother, but Jukai suddenly appeared and shot him with a tranquilizer dart, knocking him unconscious near the edge of the cliff and forcing everyone else to retreat. Hours later, heavy rain poured into the trench, while Hyakimaru lay too weak to move, and as mystical flames began consuming the corpse of his fallen horse, the animal was reborn as a terrifying demon horse. Hyakimaru eventually escaped the trench and discovered that Dororo had been captured, which only made his rage grow stronger. When he saw the flaming demon horse waiting for him, he immediately understood that it would help him continue his path of destruction. Back in Daigo's village, Tahomaru learned that Mutsu had contracted a deadly illness that worsened her injuries, and when he tried to visit her, Hyogo stopped him out of fear that he would become infected as well. This only intensified Tahomaru's hatred for Hyakimaru. Meanwhile, Dororo remained trapped inside a prison cell until Nui no Kata secretly appeared and freed her. As they escaped through hidden tunnels beneath the palace, Nui asked Dororo who Hyakimaru truly was, and Dororo angrily reminded her that she had already abandoned him once. After escaping the palace, Nui thanked Dororo for staying by Hyakimaru's side and admitted that Dororo had probably prevented him from completely losing his humanity. However, instead of returning home, Nui revealed that she wanted to see Hyakimaru one final time. While this was happening, Hyogo informed Tahomaru that Mutsu had mysteriously disappeared from her room, creating even more chaos inside the palace. At the same time, soldiers guarding a checkpoint suddenly witnessed the flaming demon horse charging toward them and destroying everything in its path. Elsewhere, Dororo and Nui traveled by boat toward another village, and during the journey, Nui confessed that she had once searched the lake for Hyakimaru after he was abandoned as a baby but never found him. She admitted that she felt like a failure as a mother, but before Dororo could fully respond, violent currents dragged their boat toward a broken bridge. The boat crashed, throwing both of them into the water. When Dororo woke up, she found herself rescued by Biwamaru, who explained that he had found her unconscious on the shore. Dororo immediately worried about Nui, but she soon discovered that Nui had survived and was helping care for sick villagers in a nearby settlement. Dororo noticed that many survivors hated Daigo for destroying their homes and realized they would likely kill Nui if they learned she was their queen. Later, Dororo Dororo and Nui spoke near a river, and Dororo admitted that Hyakimaru was likely already heading toward total darkness because the demonic flames surrounding him were growing stronger. Their conversation was interrupted when a terrified villager ran in screaming that Daigo's army was waiting on a nearby hill, but they weren't preparing to fight another army. They were terrified of a single demon. Dororo instantly realized they were talking about Hyakimaru. On the battlefield, Hyakimaru rode his flaming demon horse across the hill, while unleashing devastating tornado-like attacks that tore through Daigo's army and slaughtered countless soldiers. At the same time, Mutsu entered the Hall of Demons and desperately offered herself to the final demon in exchange for the power needed to defeat Hyakimaru. A massive lightning strike hit the temple as the demon accepted her offer. As Dororo and Nui rushed toward the battlefield, hoping they weren't too late, Hyakimaru continued massacring soldiers until he encountered Yumi and demanded to know where Dororo was. After briefly injuring him, Yumi was burned alive by the demon horse. Soon after, Tahamaru arrived with his forces, but something horrifying had happened. A strange eye had grown on his face, and additional demonic limbs had appeared on both him and his allies. Hyakimaru instantly realized those body parts originally belonged to him and attacked in desperation. Tahomaru declared that killing Hyakimaru was the only way to save their land, and the brothers clashed in an even more violent battle than before. During the fight, Dororo and Nui finally arrived, but Biwamaru stopped Dororo from interfering and explained that Tahomaru and his allies had accepted demonic power. The only way for Hyakimaru to reclaim the remaining parts of his body was to kill them. As the battle intensified, a young horse suddenly charged into the battlefield. Mutsu and Hyogo attempted to kill the demon horse, but the young horse distracted them long enough for the demon horse to retaliate. In the brutal exchange, Hyogo was killed and Mutsu was mortally wounded, and both eventually died. Tahomaru rushed to their side, but realized he could no longer save them, and as memories of everything they shared flooded his mind, he screamed in grief. At the exact same moment, two new arms emerged from Hyakimaru's body, bringing him even closer to becoming fully human again. As Tahomaru prepared to continue fighting, Hyakimaru suddenly heard Nui's voice and noticed both her and Dororo standing nearby. For a brief moment, he hesitated and attempted to hide his blades, but Tahomaru still saw him as the curse destroying their world and charged him once more. Hyakimaru fled across an open field, while questioning why everyone considered him evil for simply wanting back what had always belonged to him. And as he drove his blades into the ground, he realized that the next thing he desperately wanted to reclaim was his eyes. A few days later, as Hyakimaru and Dororo approached Daigo's land, they noticed several soldiers riding past them. Dororo immediately recognized the emblem of the Asakura clan and realized they were preparing for war. She begged Hyakimaru to wait until the conflict ended, but he refused. His only goal was reclaiming the final missing parts of his body, and he declared that he would confront Daigo no matter what. Meanwhile, inside Daigo's palace, a messenger informed Lord Daigo that Hyakimaru was heading toward the village. The moment Tahomaru heard this, he volunteered to kill his brother before he arrived. He claimed it was his duty and their only hope of restoring the land. Seeing that his son had already made up his mind, Daigo granted him permission. The next day, Tahomaru departed with his men and swore they would not return until Hyakimaru was dead. At the same time, Hyakimaru and Dororo continued their journey until they encountered a traveler who warned them to turn back immediately. He explained that war would soon break out and they would be trapped between two armies. Hyakimaru didn't care. He continued walking forward. When the man tried to stop him, Hyakimaru threatened to kill him and ordered him to get out of his way. Terrified, the man fled. Dororo tried one final time to convince Hyakimaru to wait until the war was over, but he pushed forward and accidentally knocked her to the ground. Realizing she couldn't change his mind, she declared she would stop following him. Hyakimaru turned toward her and explained that he was only trying to reclaim what had been stolen from him. He wanted to see the world with his own eyes and feel warmth with his own hands. That was all he had ever wanted. Hearing this, Dororo finally understood. The following day, Hyakimaru reached a massive trench filled with countless dead bodies. Suddenly, an arrow struck